What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junkdrummer TV, where if you've watched my channel before, you know that we watch drummers around here. We're kind of a drum education channel, if you will. I usually give analysis and reaction. But today, instead of watching drummers, we're going to listen to Howard Stern and Lars Ulrich. Now, this is completely different from anything that's on the channel, and it's because it was suggested by my little brother. And when I say my little brother, I mean little in age alone, seeing that he is a former power lifter and used to jump out of airplanes in the Army. But it was his suggestion to do this video, and he's way bigger than me, and I'm going to listen. So here's to you, Ben. So there's no reason for a preamble. This is just going to be a classic reaction video where I'm going to watch Howard Stern and whoever's in the whack pack now watch Lars Ulrich. I'll say that I used to be a huge Howard Stern fan. Once you went to Sirius, I kind of, just fell out of listening to him. I mostly listen to sports radio now if I listen to talk radio. But at one point, he was kind of a big influence. I briefly, while in college, switched from music education to communications with the thought that I would be a radio DJ like Howard Stern. Of course, that didn't work out. So I think this is an argument or a debate over John Bonham versus Neil Peart. So let's see what they say.
Who is the greatest drummer of all time?
I got a $100 bet going.
Only Lars knows the answer.
Oh man, okay, right off the bat, that's my all-time favorite Neil drum set right there. This is that purple. I think this was from Presto or Hold Your Fire.
Only Lars.
I mean, no, not Presto and Hold Your Fire. It was either Presto or Counterparts, I think. I love that purple finish. This drum set is the reason why the drum set that's over there is purple.
Knows the answer.
It's fucking hard.
That was Bonham behind the metal
years. It's
from his last
John Bonham, the great drummer, possibly the greatest drummer that ever lived. I mean, who's better than John Bonham? This is the 40th anniversary of his death. When the levee breaks, that drum riff, it's one of the most sampled drum beats.
Has Robin, aged? Has she been in a hyperbaric chamber? I was a big Howard Stern guy along, 20 years ago, and she looks the same.
Ever recorded.
Jesus.
Who's a better drummer than him?
What does our resident drummer think?
Richard, you know something about drumming. You were
drummer?
Voted the best drummer in the world by some metal magazine, weren't you?
One of the top 5 metal drummers ever.
Wait a minute. Did he just say that somebody called him one of the 5 all-time greatest metal drummers ever? Wait a minute. Is that what he said? I don't know who this dude is. What the hell? What's going on?
World by some metal magazine, weren't you?
One of the top 5 metal drummers ever.
Are you in agreement that John Bonham was the greatest drummer that ever lived?
Now.
Yes, but I would put Neil Peart right next to
At least he said Neil Peart's name right.
him.
You mean of Rush?
Yep.
Great drummer, but
You mean
come
of
on.
Rush?
Who's more iconic? Bonzo.
That's
What?
a good argument. I don't know.
Get off my show. How dare you?
I don't know if it's a good argument.
Tom
but it's
Sawyer drum solo is iconic.
There's a sexiness that John
I mean, so is the Moby Dick drum solo.
Bonzo Bonham had to his drumming that few have been able to replicate.
I am no drum expert, but I am very good at
Who's this
Googling. And
whack-looking
I
dude?
Googled who is the best drummer ever. And
It's
number
gotta be
one with the
Bonzo.
bullet
Jackie the
was
Joke
John
Man.
Bonham.
I put in Google and
Ugh,
just wrote
Baba Booey.
greatest drummers of all time, and Neil Peart shows up first.
He's,
Alexa just said it was
Of course, Neil. Of course, Baba Booey. I said Neil's name wrong. Usually I have drumsticks in my hand in case I want to demonstrate, but not needed, so I just have a pop.
Ginger Baker. I'm not kidding.
Ginger Baker.
That's funny.
Go ahead, Joe in New Jersey.
Painful.
I think you should call Lars, who was on last week. I think he's got a true opinion on this one.
Lars would say without thinking that John
Seeing
Bonzo
Lars
Bonham
look
was the
that
number
old
one
makes me
drummer
feel old.
of all time.
Nah, Neil Peart.
How much you want to bet?
I'll bet you $100.
Get Lars on the phone immediately, Gary.
I don't think I could get him on immediately, but I probably could get an answer by tomorrow.
I'm betting that Lars will say John Bonzo Bonham.
And then if Lars says it's Neil, then you'll give him $100.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Joe is on the phone,
Lars
Lars,
needs
who
that
had the
hundo.
balls to call me up and argue with me about John Bonzo Bonham's drums. He says Neil Peart is better. It's a blah, 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 blah. Lars is the expert. Let's find out what...
He just said Lars is the expert.
Lars thinks.
it's fucking hard. Listen,
A timpani roll that Lars Ulrich couldn't do.
I've been asked that question on and off for 40 years.
Our two choices for greatest drummer, which is Bonzo Bonham and Neil Peart. I mean, you got Ginger Baker.
No, that's
got
the 2112
You're
drum
talking about a
set.
lot of
I guess
different
he had
people.
two
I
purple
would
drum
put
sets.
2 additional names on that list. Deep Purple's Ian Pace is an incredibly technically gifted drummer, and Phil Rudd is what gives AC/DC that
Okay,
incredible
so-
bounce and swing.
This was the point.
Respect, Lars. Right there with the introduction of those two new drummers to the conversation is the reason why these kind of conversations are, man, they're not unnecessary, but they're futile at best. Because, like, I mean, Ian Pace is awesome and Phil Rudd's awesome, but they're all awesome in different ways. And I'm sorry, this will sound super music snobby, but I get fucking so cringed out when, like, non-musicians like Howard talk about, like, musicians and drummers.
I was making about Bonzo Bonham yesterday. There was a soul to this guy's drumming.
You mentioned when the levee breaks.
He's right.
I mean, that's classic.
John Bonham is a soulful drummer.
The drums are big, thunderous, ambient. He's a little bit behind on the snare.
Damn, Lars. Go ahead there, guy.
And it's got that groove, and he's in a pocket.
I like where you're going with your whole
Lars knows what pocket is.
Whole build-up. I think I know
I
where
don't
we're
know.
getting.
I still don't know where he's coming down in all this. Maybe we want to hear
Lars
your
has some fake
opinion
twofers,
of
I
Neil.
think.
The first time I ever met Neil, it was 1984. Our manager
Professor.
Cliff signed Rush, and I had drum questions about gear and this and that, and he goes, Neil loves to talk to younger drummers. He goes, call Neil, he wants to hear from you. And it was like,
That would be fucking cool.
I was 20 years old with not a pot to piss in, and I called him, and
The
we
Robin
spoke
laugh.
30, 45 minutes on the phone, and we're geeking out on drums, and the whole thing was like a fairy tale. You can't
That's awesome.
play drums and not love Neil, and you can't
true.
not be
Getting nervous.
appreciative and respectful. And but listen,
Jesus.
no, I mean,
Dangerous
Yes, have
territory.
faith.
I mean,
So,
I didn't know Lars
is
was
this-
getting drum lessons from Neil Peart on the phone.
I heard a pro wrestler call them Hollywood teeth. Lars has some Hollywood teeth.
I mean, Jesus Christ, who could have
Talk
predicted
about in
that?
love. I'm watching him talk about Neil. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's in
Believe
love.
Shit, there goes my $100.
What she did in the 90s.
Wait
so
a
if
second.
this is the big, is there a drum roll
Can we have a drum roll?
He did pray real
between
lessons,
Neil
didn't he?
and between John? No disrespect, but I'll have to go with John Bonham.
I knew it. I knew it, Joe. Joe, you give that $100 to my
Howard
charity.
does love to be correct. Okay, I mean, that was a cool little video, and man, Lars was quite insightful about everything that he said about John Bonham is dead on. I'm not going to say who I think is better, but I will say it's like this. It's almost apples and oranges when you talk about John Bonham and Neil. Neil was a professor in the lab working on trying to find the perfect like the perfect chemical reaction or the perfect equation for what the drum part needed to be. If you've watched my other two Neil Peart videos, I have said that he's the Mozart of drums. He's a great composer, maybe the greatest composer of drums. So Neil's like this, you know, like Einstein, and then like John Bonham is forever in the moment, soulfully chasing a muse. It's like science versus art, and they both have those things in it as well. John had scientific and Neil had art, obviously, but it's impossible to say who and which one. And just because I'm wearing this Rush t-shirt isn't me saying it's Neil, because I'm never going to say who I think is the greatest drummer in the world, because who the fuck am I? Who the fuck is Howard Stern to say that? I will say who my favorite drummer is. My favorite drummer is Levon Helm, who's, you know, from a technical standpoint, isn't in even in the conversation when it comes to Bonham and Peart. That was a cool video, man. Good on you, Benjamin, for sending that to me. Neil, John, have it out in the comments section. I'll get the popcorn.